Wrestlers are very often extraordinary human beings who had to show amazing strength and perseverance to make it in the ruthless business of pro wrestling. And as you can imagine, their mindsets and daily routines are fascinating. It's a delight to present to you on the Wrestling Paradise a series about this exciting topic. And in this episode, we will focus on the case of Bobby Lashley. You will learn Bobby Lashley's military routine, the mental tricks behind all of his success, and his very surprising vision of nutrition. And you will even discover his incredible favorite meal. You are on the Wrestling Paradise, the mindset and daily routine of the wrestler Bobby Lashley. Let's go! The case of Bobby Lashley is one of the most interesting to study in terms of mindset and daily routines. You just have to see his impressive physique and his intensity when he has a match in the ring or when he is at the gym to understand he's a machine. Someone who's unstoppable in the chase of his goals. This is also what we notice when we look at his career. For years, he first practiced amateur wrestling, a field in which he succeeded, but where he couldn't make his great dream of participating in the Olympics come true, because of an injury he suffered when he found himself in the middle of a bank robbery in 2003. While this disappointment to see this goal crushed could have destroyed him psychologically, he will work even harder to come back at his best level physically and become a pro wrestler. In WWE, he had the first period between 2004 and 2008 where we can remember his participation in the Battle of the Billionaires between Vince McMahon and Donald Trump, which was perhaps the biggest attraction of WrestleMania 23, or his ECW title. And for the record, he often trained with the Boogeyman at that time. But his journey doesn't end there, and he will reinvent himself once again by going into the MMA world, and also with success. Between 2008 and 2016, he won 15 fights, 12 of those either by submission or by knockout or TKO. And it should be noted that in his two only losses, he managed to get his revenge on one of his two opponents in a rematch. We can say that, with Brock Lesnar of course, he is one of the wrestlers who had the greatest success in the fighting world. The icing on the cake of this already great career will be the WWE title he won in 2021, at the age of 44, in an incredible physical condition. So, seeing all of this, we can think several things. First, that he must really be a monster mentally to have succeeded in all of this, and that he probably has a military discipline in life. And that is something relevant to say, because Bobby was in the army, and he is the son of a drill sergeant who taught him very early to work hard and to aspire to be the best in each of his activities. We can also think he must surely have a high quality routine in terms of nutrition, training or mental health to have built and maintained this great physique for years. Whereas, as he tells us, he was a skinny kid once, which is hard to imagine today. As you will see, although we might be tempted to see Bobby Lashley as an extraordinary athlete who is not an ordinary human being, in reality, the keys of his success are accessible to everybody, and he's the first one to say that anyone can do it, but that they have to put their heart into it. First of all, what is quite crazy about Bobby and what makes him different from many other wrestlers is that he is someone who doesn't like to have a specific and structured diet, in which he would eat exactly the same dishes every day. And it's true, this may come as a surprise when we know his military side, which could have led us to believe he is very structured in his meals. And yet, on this point, he disagrees with many of his colleagues by saying that, in his opinion, it is better to choose a lifestyle rather than a diet. He says that he himself tried a lot of different diets over time, but that he feels it is not necessarily a sustainable approach to have a rigid plan that must absolutely be respected. What you can feel in this vision of things is that Lashley thinks flexibility is important. And besides, you will see that it is also one of his mantras in sport, flexibility. In this case, the physical one. What worked for him, rather than religiously following a list of everything he has to eat and when, is to understand nutrition, a field in which he has developed knowledge over the years, and it allows him to be able to make adjustments and be free with what he eats. depending on how he feels or the program of his day, for example. As Bobby says, and I quote, "I keep it very simple. I never get tied to a diet because I have to live my life. I think a lot of people get stuck on diet plans, and I don't want to get stuck with that for the rest of my life. Nutrition techniques, fasting, or other things are really not his way of living." He himself says he doesn't feel like having a calculator with him all the time and having to do some math to decide what he is going to eat. With him, it is, above all, about knowing and understanding his body, to know what it needs, not to give it some stuff that is simply not good for it. For example, he says he doesn't like the reaction of his body if he takes a donut or any other sweet product. As a matter of fact, we can notice in Bobby's relationship with food that he sees his body as a machine to which some things must be given to make it happy and work well, and avoid giving other things so as not to stop it. And in fact, it is a way of seeing things where food is mainly fuel for the body. And Bobby himself said a phrase that sums up everything about it. "I always look at it like if you have a Ferrari. You are not going to put bad gas in a Ferrari. Right now, I consider my body as a Ferrari. So I am going to put good stuff in my body as much as possible." And this is perhaps the whole nuance that is essential to understand. Not having a strict diet and having an approach that may seem very free to nutrition doesn't mean to please yourself and satisfy all your desires, but rather to know what your body really needs and then adapt the content of your meals to what you would prefer or to what would be the more practical solution for you. What we must also remember with Bobby is that he says he is eating all the time, that he takes supplements to help him recover, especially because he trains so hard that he needs to replenish his glucose and rebuild his muscles after training by taking a blend of carbs and proteins from his favorite company in this field, Nutrabolics. In terms of supplements, he is also used to take amino acids to optimize his recovery. Another supplement based on caffeine and citrulline malate to give himself a boost before training, and protein powder late at night before sleeping. For the record, in this diet flexibility, Bobby sometimes allows himself to have cheat meals that are purely focused on pleasure. And when it happens, he admits he loves cheeseburgers and cookies, which he likes to eat with his son. And his favorite dish, which according to him is the most incredible he has ever eaten, is a burger called Peanut Butter and Jealousy in a restaurant in California, which is composed of bacon, peanut butter, steak, and strawberry jelly. The fact of the matter is that all of this flexible way of eating goes hand in hand with a very strong discipline and intensity in training. A first element to know with Bobby Lashley is that as an athlete whose job requires him to be able to perform physically on a regular basis, he gives a lot of importance in his life to recovery, a real priority for him. And we can go further and say that for anyone who's doing daily physical effort, it obviously is a huge advantage to manage to recover well, to be in shape every day. For Bobby, that means having massages with a chiropractor, yoga, strength and conditioning training 3 times a week. As you can imagine, one reason why he also thinks recovery work is essential is because he trains like a madman at the gym. As he says, for him, the gym is like his church, and when he sweats a lot in an intense effort, he feels at home. Bobby really loves to put his body and his soul in bodybuilding. For example, he is a big fan of pull-ups since he regularly does 100 of them in the same session. He says that at the time when he was just starting to work out, he killed himself in training. That he did several workouts a day, from 5 AM until the evening. And for the record, he started working out because he had failed a bench press in a sports class in front of his classmates. And the bar had even fallen on his torso, a scene in which he felt embarrassed. It really made him very extreme. But now, he usually trains for 1 hour in a very explosive workout with some weights. And at another time of the day, he likes to add a more specific 30-minute training, whether boxing or working on leg agility. But on the other hand, he will never design a training program for you if he doesn't know how your body works, since, for him, the basis of any workout, just like his relationship to food, is to know your own physical specificities well and to adapt everything to that. What is interesting to see about Bobby, and what is a real mental trick for him, is that at every workout, he always gives himself a challenge, a goal to achieve. And that's not all. He always wants to fail at something at each training, by pushing to his maximum in an exercise, for example, to a point where his body can't go anymore. To then remember the number of reps at which he failed and do better next time. Anyway, every time he is facing a physical effort, Lashley wants to push himself to his limit every time. And, in his eyes, it is our intensity level that will dictate the results we get. Of course, this intensity in sports and this level of self-knowledge in both bodybuilding and nutrition would not have been possible for Bobby Lashley without an excellent mindset, which you can see as the basis of the successes he had in his career. And you will see that in this field, he is a real machine. You should know that he is someone who has routines from a mental standpoint and who deeply believes in the power of positive thinking and visualizing his future successes. The first act of his day is always to make his bed, and then he listens to motivational audiobooks and goes for a 10-mile run to the park every morning, around 5 o'clock, before his children get up. He says that by doing that, it's something that really kicks off his day, and afterwards he feels he could pick up a building. And what we can recognize too is that he also had these habits when he was not a wrestler or when he didn't have a job that was directly impacted by all of this. Even in periods of inactivity, he still got up at 5 a.m. every day and destroyed himself in training. When someone asked him what the goal he was training for was during these periods, he said that he didn't know, but that in any case he would be ready. What also brings a lot of motivation and inspiration to Bobby is his children. Above all, he wants them to never live the difficult things that he experienced when he was younger, and they make him want to fight and win every day. Without a shadow of a doubt, his mindset is awesome, and it has been the foundation of his victories in amateur wrestling, MMA, and pro wrestling. He really has a unique routine that mixes self-knowledge, flexibility, intensity and discipline at the same time. And we will end with the last mental trick from Bobby Lashley, which goes far beyond the framework of sports and which can speak to anyone who pursues goals. In the face of adversity, I tell myself I can't go out like that. I am better. I am stronger. Always remember, a setback is a setup for a comeback. A loss is a shake-up to make you hungry again. And this is how our episode about the mindset and daily routine of Bobby Lashley ends. It was very interesting to study, and we were able to appreciate Bobby Lashley's unusual vision on diet and all of his mental tricks to stay motivated at all times. And after learning about all his tricks and routines, I have a debate for you. In your eyes, what is the most inspiring lesson you see in the example of Bobby Lashley that we can replicate in all of our lives? Come and tell us what you think about it. It will be interesting to discuss it in the comments and to share our opinions together. We can say that this topic raises a lot of questions. I hope you had a good time watching this video, and I invite you to stay in the paradise of wrestling to look at some other ones. See you right away.
And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so. What?